Alright, hello everybody. We are ready to do our warm-up. We're going to turn this into vertex form. Find the vertex. You all should have your formula sheet that has like the steps listed out, because there are a lot of steps, right? Does somebody want to help me out with just like each little step, kind of like Jake did yesterday? Alright, Marcella, what should I do first up here? Exactly. So Marcella just said we're going to rewrite our formula, leaving a big blank spot between the second and third term. Okay, first step is done. What should we do next? Good. So she said we're going to take a 2 out from here and here and here. No, not the 7. So 7, I kind of joke that he's over there having alone time. He's like kind of like in timeout. We don't need to factor 2 out from him. But we're going to factor a 2 out from the first term and the second term. Okay. Looking good? Yeah. All right. What should we do next? Tell them what the b value is. They might not know. Good. She's going to take the 10. Some people accidentally have been going back to 20. You want to use this as your b value. So continue. Yep. Yes. So the magic number is 25. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. And then what is added over here? So 25? It's a 50. So she does 2 times 25 and gets 50. Okay, what's up next? And I was like checking some homework that I had collected in one of my classes. I don't remember if it was this class or not. The step that everyone's having the most trouble in is this step right here, factoring this perfect square trinomial. So just be very careful. You want to have a group, and you want to have a square, and you want to have a single variable. I'll see people putting an X here. You want it here. Marcella, what number goes here? Perfect. And then I'll just catch up to her by recopying my 50 plus y and my minus 7.
Where do you get the 25, or where do you get the 50?
The 50. Oh, here?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you add the 25 over here, you probably are thinking, let's add a 25 over here to keep it balanced. But that's not quite right. We're adding a 25 here, but we're actually adding the value of 50, because 2 times 25 is 50. Oh, it's a magic number. Have you been in class last couple days? You take your b value, divide by 2, and square it.
Oh, okay.
It's called the magic number.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
That's okay. Now, as long as you remember now. Yes. So she's subtracting her 50 to the other side. All right. And then what are you going to have? Perfect. And then our vertex? Negative 5, negative 57. Awesome. Hey, give her a round of applause. She did just as good as Jake.
Good job! I'm a whip on my...
Alright, so we're going to do 1.8 today using quadratic formula, and then discriminant. That might be a new word you might never heard of before. Everybody heard of discriminant? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. Discriminant. It's part of the quadratic formula. It's b squared minus 4ac. It's that part. That's the discriminant. Okay, so go ahead and jot down the quadratic formula. I'm going to write it up here on my formula board. You don't have to memorize it. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2 times a. And people learn various forms of that song. So we're going to play the form of the song that I learned. Yes?
That's another day.
It absolutely is. So guess what? We're going to play that. But hey, I have a little disclaimer. The problem must be set equal to 0 before you use your quadratic formula. So you can't have like equals 5 and then use the quadratic formula. You have to have everything on one side. You have to have it set equal to 0 before you use a quadratic formula. Okay?
You should drop the next day.
So hey, I have a couple versions of the song to list down. I got a rap version. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and try this. First things first, you have to be set equal to 0 before you use your quadratic formula. Am I set equal to 0 right now? No. So we need to get that 2 over to the other side and get set equal to 0. Everybody put their phones in the book bags, zip them up.
Sorry, I didn't text my
That would
mom.
be you. Alright, so x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. It's not factorable. The only time I would ever use the quadratic formula is if something is just not factorable, and I just don't want to deal with factoring it. And I don't want to do completing the square either, because you could do completing the square to figure out this and solve it. Alright, so we're ready to try a quadratic formula. A, B, and C. Hopefully, I mean, you've done this before, right? The quadratic formula? Yeah. So what's the A value? 1. What's the B value? 3. What's the C value? -2. So let's go ahead and slowly sing our quadratic formula song and plug everything in. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4AC all divided by 2 times A. Oh, I sing that in my head. I know it's silly, but I sing it in my head whenever I do these problems.
You have an amazing voice, Miss.
Well, thank you. I like to compliment people too. I like your sneakers.
Thank you.
Okay, so the very first thing that you want to do, you do not want to type all this in the calculator at one time. I know these things are amazing and they do a lot of mathematics, but do not type it in all at one time. First of all, there's no plus or minus button in the calculator, so that would be silly. And second of all, you'd need a lot of parentheses like here and here, so you wouldn't want to worry about typing it at one time. So the most you want to type at one time is the stuff under this radical. This stuff here is called the discriminant. So go ahead and type in 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times -2. Or do it in your head, whatever. But find your discriminant first. Your discriminant tells you a lot about a problem. It tells you whether there'll be imaginary answers. It tells you whether there'll be 2 answers or 1 answer. Or no answers at all. So what'd you get for your discriminant?
17.
17? Alright, so I think all of my solutions will be irrational numbers, because radical 17 is an irrational number, right?
Yep.
So, since people in your, people in Algebra 2, like the math book and stuff, they like real exact answers, you can leave it like this. You don't have to get those yucky decimals. Now, if 17 was actually a 16, and it was a perfect square, I would have worked it out further, absolutely. But I don't want to get messy decimals or anything. And then this is just a fun check. Your solutions will be x-intercepts. So I want to refresh your memory on how to do graphing and how to find x-intercepts. Here's where Desmos is awesome. Desmos shows you the x-intercepts right off the bat. I know Ben uses that. Oh, Ben, you have your own calculator now. You're not doing Desmos anymore.
Yeah, Austin uses them.
Yeah, Austin, you
Pull up our
freaking trash
calculator.
drop. I'm working on it.
Calculator time.
Wait, go back. Okay.
Come back. I just had to open my
What?
calculator.
No.
Wait, hold on. I need the calculator to move.
Oh, there.
Lay your son next to that tractor. What grade is he in?
You first.
I'm in 1st grade.
Is he a math genius?
Yeah. He came up to school the other day, and he's like, my friend Olivia doesn't know multiplication. Can you believe that?
Olivia must be a scrub.
No, she's really smart.
He has long hair.
Whoa, let me see.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and graph our parabola.
Does he like pumpkins too?
Yeah, okay. He had show and tell today. Pumpkin. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. Why don't you take a little pumpkin, like this big? And he's like, no, I want to take this pumpkin. It's like this big. You're going to take it on the bus. And he's like, okay. Well, I'm like, you want to take it on the bus to school and from school? And he's like, I'll just give it to my teacher.
Not freaking in the cutting.
Alright, we're going to hit graph, but I just wanted to show
What is
you.
that?
This right here and this right here are the solutions. Those are the answers. So one's positive, one's negative. Alright, you can check by tracing and times 4. Alright, let's try another one. Here's number 2. Is it set equal to 0 right now? Are we ready to go with our... No, yeah. We need to get everything set equal to 0. So minus 12x over to the side. The 18x and the negative 12x will combine to negative 30x. And then how can I move over the negative 9? Do a plus 9. I'm doing it all in one step. I'm sorry. I normally don't like it making it this messy. So it's 25x squared minus 30x plus 9 equals 0. I was just thinking, these numbers are really, really, really big, right?
We should
Yeah, we could factor something out. Because factoring things out won't affect the solutions at all. What do you want to factor out? There's nothing we can factor out. Crap. Because that has a 5 and a 5 as its factors. This has a 6 and a 5, so it's like, oh, they have a 5 in common. But then this is 3 times 3, so there's nothing we can factor out. So it was a good thought. I had that thought too, actually. All right, so A, B, and C. What we got? A, 25. B, negative 30. And C is 9. So we're going to sing real slow, don't go too fast, so I can get these numbers plugged in.
Teach me how to fact.
X equals the opposite of B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC all divided by 2 times A. So I did it, but I didn't really talk about it at the time. When I said opposite of B, I actually turned that 30 positive. And then when I did B squared, I did include parentheses, because in your calculators, you have to have parentheses around negatives when you square them, or they won't calculate out correctly. Okay.
Oh, no, we're not.
Wait, hold on, don't go yet.
No imaginary numbers. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there will be an imaginary answer on this one, we'll find out. So go ahead and type in the discriminant when you're ready, and we'll see what we get. If that discriminant's a negative number, we will have imaginary solutions. Imaginary solutions are possible today. That's an FYI. And my bottom's going to be a 50. It's 2 times 25. I can do that in my head.
My imagination is
No.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Did anybody get your discriminant?
Yes.
I did. It's 0. Awesome. Do you know what that means?
No.
We're actually only going to have one solution. Because what's 30 plus 0? 30. What's 30 minus 0? 30. So really our only answer is 30 over 50, or 3/5. So when your discriminant is 0, you only get one solution.
30.
So questions on how that one went?
Oh, shoot. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
So what's the answer?
3/5.
Oh.
30 divided by 50. 3/5.
What are you going to do to make this weekend? Oh.
Where at?
All right, let's try this one. Oh, they gave it away. Solve an equation with imaginary solutions. It's not going to be a surprise. We're going to have imaginaries on this one.
No.
All right, so are we set equal to 0? Not quite yet. Let's move that 5, get ourselves set equal to 0. So we'll have negative x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. This one's a little interesting because we have a negative a value. You very rarely see that. That has nothing to do with why there's imaginaries, though. Okay, can I have a volunteer raise their hand and tell me A, B, and C?
A equals negative.
Sam?
A is -1, B is 4, and C is -1.
Okay, let's sing our song slowly. X equals opposite of B plus or minus square root B squared minus 4AC. You're singing it wrong. All divided by 2 times A. Are you singing it wrong just to mess with me? Or
No, I thought I was singing.
actually don't know it?
I don't.
It's right here. You don't have to memorize it. So it's great we have the song, but you don't need to memorize it. It's on the formula sheet.
Oh, no.
You guys have the formula sheet from yesterday, right? Look on there. He's even got his out in his desk. Look, right here.
I'm smarter than everyone.
Don't need to memorize it. Yep. Oh yeah, I'll get you one one before you leave. Just remind me. I have plenty. So those are the chapter 1 test formula sheets. You're allowed to use it on the test. Don't put anything on it. Like don't put little cheating things on it. Or I'll confiscate and give you a new one the day of the test. Okay, go ahead and type in your discriminant. That's going to tell us a lot about our answers. The denominator will be -2. I'll do that one for you. So you're typing in all the stuff I circled in blue. That's called the discriminant. I think we might have messed up. Did we mess up? That's why I paused the recording. I think we messed up. Again. Okay, we're back. I did notice I accidentally wrote my b squared minus 4ac. I had written that incorrectly, so you'll see I have fixed that. My discriminant ended up being -4, thanks to some students that typed that in for us. That means we're going to have imaginary answers. What is the square root of -4?
Sweaty gang. 2.
It's positive and negative 2i. So this is my answer right here. We are going to clean it up a little bit and make it look nicer because it can simplify down a bit, but that's pretty much the answer. So you're going to take a -4, divide by -2, and get a +2. And then you're going to take a 2i and divide that by -2, and that would be a positive -1i. That's your answer. 2 plus or minus I. You basically divide them both by -2. Confusing? Yep.
Where did you get the I?
The I. Okay, so we did a whole entire lesson on I.
Oh, yeah.
And we learned that when you square root a negative number like -4, you get positive or -2i. Because the negative pops out becomes the I, and then the 4 square root is 2. Okay, so I forget what lesson that was, 1.6? Just throwing that out there? I don't know.
Did you divide everything? Like, you divide -2?
So I do this divided by this, and this divided by this.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so let's skip that. Let's get to discriminant. So if you haven't caught on by now, I've been using this word the whole lesson. But discriminant is officially b squared minus 4ac. It can tell you a lot. It can tell you a lot about the number of solutions a problem would have. If your discriminant is positive, then you'll have 2 real solutions. And we saw an example like that. If your discriminant is 0, then you'll only have 1 solution. And we saw an example like that, didn't we? And then if your discriminant is negative, guess what? No, they're solutions. We just saw this.
2 imaginaries.
2 imaginaries. I knew at least one person pays attention. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Ryan's always paying attention even though he's 6 far away. 2 imaginary solutions. Okay. So it's called the discriminant check. I kind of did it a couple weeks ago, but you didn't know about it. When I was like, oh, this might be a prime number, I would just do a discriminant check to see. Discriminant checks can help you see if things are factorable or prime. All right, I only think there's one more topic we need to discuss today, and that is gravity problems and objects being dropped off of buildings and objects being thrown to one another. Okay, so there's a formula to help you work with gravity problems, and that formula is right here. There's 2 of them. I'll move this out of the way. So if you're just dropping an object like off a building like this, you're going up like this, drop, there's no initial velocity, and that's why you can use this formula. But if you're going to throw something like you're going to throw a football, there is an initial velocity, and that's this guy. So explain what all these mean. H stands for height, T stands for time in the air, VO is initial velocity, and then HO is initial height. I think it all explains that up in the paragraph. If you're looking at notes. I would write these 2 formulas down, just because there's probably an example in the homework, and there's this example in the notes. Yeah, jot them down. On the homework, there is an object being launched from the top of a platform. So that since they're launching it, it does have an initial velocity. So you're using this one in the homework tonight. So if you're curious, this is the one for the homework. Guess I should put up on my board. You want me to recap what all the variables mean again? Or were you paying attention? Yes? Okay.
A lot of ways up there.
This is like a physics problem. If you guys are in anybody in physics, or are you guys too young for that?
I was.
Anyone in
Did we take
physics
that
right
last
now?
year?
Awesome. This is totally physics. Mr. Dillick and Mr. What's the other guy? Cochran is physics. Okay, so here's what all the variables mean. I'll just write them out. H stands for height of the object. Oftentimes they ask how many seconds was the object in the air. You want to solve for when height is 0 in that case. T stands for time in seconds. VO is original. The O normally means original. So original velocity, that's an original speed. And then HO is original height.
Why don't they make it OH and then OV?
I don't know. They just do the O for the subscript for original. Alright, we want to, now that we got the formula, we want to try this juggler problem. Scroll it up, give myself some space. A juggler, ooh, too much space. A juggler tosses a ball in the air. It leaves the juggler's hand 4 feet above the ground. That's going to be our original height. And has an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. That's going to be our original velocity. The juggler catches the ball when it falls back down at a height of 3. That'll be your final height. How long is the ball in the air? We'll be solving for T. Let's try to get this all put in our formula. So the height at the end of the scenario is 3. The height at the beginning of the scenario, the original height, was 4. The negative 16 is there because that helps calculate the pull of the gravity, because it's going to cause it to come down. It's going to make the parabola an upside down parabola, because objects go up, objects come down. It's our A value.
What goes up must come down.
And then our B value is our initial velocity, which was 40. So this is our equation. We basically need to solve this equation. So solve this equation is our job. Well, we'll move our 3 and we'll think about maybe we can solve it by factoring. I don't know. It's probably going to be quadratic formula since it's in this lesson. So we got to get it set equal to 0 first, whether you're going to use factoring or the quadratic formula. Because you use the 0 product property when you use factoring. Plus 1. So the only way I think we could use factoring on this is if it's a perfect square trinomial. 16 is a perfect square, and 1 is a perfect square. But I just don't think that 40 is going to work out, because it would end up being, I think, like a 32. So we're going to do our quadratic formula. Alright, what's our A and our B and our C? B is 40, very good. A?
1.
It's actually a negative 16, I forgot my negative sign. And then C is 1. Alright, we'll sing our song real slow. X equals the opposite of B, plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4AC
divided by 2A.
You know it!
I was looking off the board.
Woo! Well, that's the first time you actually say it correctly. I know you're gonna listen to yourself later on YouTube, aren't you? Okay. Go ahead and type in your discriminant.
Switch. Yeah.
I wish.
See if we get a positive number or a negative number or a perfect square or a not perfect square. Our denominator will be a negative 32, because 2 times negative 16. Alright, did you guys get 1664 for your discriminant?
1536.
You got 1536? 40 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 1. I got 1664 again. You got 1664? Okay. So 1664. We are going to go ahead and actually calculate that out. It's not a perfect square, I checked. But since our answer is a time, we probably want to get the actual time in the air in seconds. So when I type in the square root of 1664, I got 40.79. And I normally just round to hundredths place. Alright, let me talk you through exactly how you want to type this in the finish. You got lost?
I'm now at 1663, I'm 1 off.
Ooh.
Alright, 40 squared
Minus
minus 4 times negative 16 times 1
4 times negative 16.
times 1.
1? Oh, I thought it was negative 1.
Oh, it's about 1. It's a
Oh, now I
single
get 64.
Okay.
There you go.
So we only have 6 minutes. We're going to speed this along.
This one?
Type this in exactly how I say it. -40 plus 40.79. Click enter. You want to click enter before you divide. Very important. Click enter,
Enter.
then divide. So that's your first answer. -0.02 seconds. Does that make sense? Can you have a negative time?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
You're going to throw that answer away. That answer doesn't make sense. The next answer will. -40 minus 40.79. Click enter. Divide by -32. This answer is the answer we want. 2.52 seconds. That's how long the object's in the air. It wouldn't make sense to have two answers.
No.
What?
Do that again.
Okay, you have to click enter before you divide.
Yeah.
So -40
0.79.
minus 40.79. Click enter. Then divide by -32.
Oh, time to go.
Ready, gang.